Konnichiwa! So Sega have announced the Genesis and Mega Drive Mini and an absolute ton of games that are going to be on it. In today's show, I'm going to be talking about 5 games that I'd love to see on the console. Game on! The Genesis and Mega Drive Mini is set to offer Sega fans fantastic value for money and a trip down memory lane when it releases later this year. And with the games announced so far, Sega fans have a lot to be happy about. But there are 5 games that I wish would be on the console. And in today's show, we're going to be going through those 5 titles that I wish were on the Genesis and Mega Drive Mini. First on my list, we've got Alesia Dragoon. Now, Alesia Dragoon was released in 1992 and was billed as an arcade platformer. And unlike a lot of games that were coming out on the Genesis and Mega Drive in Japan at that time, this wasn't aimed at a hardcore audience. It was actually aimed at a casual platforming audience. Now, the game was a critical success, but the game didn't sell as many units as Sega and the developer had hoped to. Alesia Dragoon is a fantastic casual platformer game with some awesome visuals in there and an amazing soundtrack. Your character's main attack and area of effect Lightning Storm is really satisfying, and you get 4 dragons or familiars to mess about with. Each one of them has a special ability and they upgrade the more you use them. Next up, the awesome Zero Tolerance. You can count the number of first-person shooters that the Mega Drive has, and Zero Tolerance is by far, in my opinion, the best first-person shooter that you can get on the Mega Drive. Now, whilst the SNES had Doom, which is the best first-person shooter ever, Zero Tolerance was a very capable Wolfenstein-esque first-person shooter for the Mega Drive. One of the great elements about this game is that you could actually, at the time, send off for a free cable that allowed you to link 2 Mega Drive consoles together at the same time and play co-op. I mean, it was pretty groundbreaking, this game, for its time. Combat in this game is really satisfying. The monsters go down with a great explosion of blood and guts. The shotgun is especially satisfying with the sound effects and the distance that it pushes enemies back. The game offers up some fantastic and detailed environments as you work your way through an infested alien spaceship. Now, when you die in this game, you don't just restart the level from scratch, you actually have to choose another character. And I think you get 5 or maybe 4 characters to choose from. Each time one of those characters die, you have to pick up another character and continue from where you left off. Now, once all your characters are dead, that's it, game over. A lot of the games announced in the Mini represent a ton of genres on there, and to be honest, the first-person shooter genre was pretty new at the time, and having something as groundbreaking as Zero Tolerance on there would be fantastic. Just imagine being able to hook up 2 of your mini consoles as well to be able to play multiplayer with this. That would be awesome. Whilst we have Street Fighter, I really wish we'd get Sega's Eternal Champions. Now, whilst the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis had some great fighters on, like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, Sega decided to release their own fighter, Eternal Champions. The game came out to a mixed reception, with some reviewers giving it over 90% and some reviewers barely giving it over 60%. One of the biggest issues people have with Eternal Champions is the time it takes to master this game. It isn't easy, it isn't as intuitive as Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, but it does have some great characters in there, a brilliant storyline. It brought in a tutorial and practice mode before any of the other fighting games had it, and it was visually stunning. Eternal Champions for me is a great example of how Sega were bringing in arcade titles into the home without them actually being arcade titles. They were building genuinely arcade-like experiences for home users, with games like Eternal Champions and the Streets of Rage trilogy. The Strike series is arguably one of the best trilogies on the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. Desert Strike needs no introduction. It is one of the greatest games on the console, and it would be an absolute travesty not to have this on the Genesis and Mega Drive Mini. Now, whilst the other three titles had some good gameplay in there, this was genuinely AAA breakout gameplay. It was genre defining at the time. Its execution was stunning. Everything from storyline, gameplay mechanics, handling, graphics, SFX, sound effects. It was just a brilliant game. The Mega Drive Mini would be poorer without it if it doesn't include Desert Strike. And lastly, Flashback. Flashback is a gaming classic, and whilst it wasn't exclusive to the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive, it was excellently executed. With its retroscoped character animation in there, it was one of the most visually appealing games to be released on the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. Despite it being such a gaming classic and being well received by the gaming press, it only sold about 750,000 copies in its first couple of years. Compare that to Alesia Dragoon, which sold 3.5 million copies in its first couple of years and wasn't considered a commercial success. Yet, Flashback lives on in gamers' hearts as one of the best games to come out on the system, and the mini console would be so much richer for having a game like Flashback on it. So there you go, my 5 picks for 5 games that should be on the Mega Drive and Genesis Mini. The console looks like it's going to be absolutely fantastic value. 40 games, and with the 20 they've announced already, it looks like it's going to be amazing. Even if my 5 picks don't make it on there, it looks like it's going to be something definitely worth picking up. If you love retro gaming, then why not consider joining the Retro Gamer Boy community by clicking on my little pixel head below. And while you're here, check out some of my older videos that I've filmed that I've put on this side of the screen.